It's much more interesting. Well, I think in general I'm doing things which are much more interesting for everyone to experience than for someone that has art knowledge and experience. So in that sense, I'm much more interested to having a dialogue about art with the neighbor who is a plumber.
The questions for me was specifically, how did you get here?
To Groningen.
No, in this, after you graduated, how did you manage to find a place to do what you want to do?
Well, I think it is like a domino effect. Like when I first came to Groningen, I came to study in Minerva in 2015, and I was very aware that I didn't know anyone. I didn't know the language, I didn't know the place. So, and I was very eager to do things. So from the day one in Minerva, I was going to the teachers that I liked and saying, okay, if I can help you with anything, or if there is something I can do for you, or assist you, just let me know. And there was this Brazilian artist who had an exhibition in Radinho Single, who was photographing people, so I went to her, she took a photo, I was part of the project, and then Andrea Stolzens, who was working with this Brazilian artist. I'm very interested in photography, maybe not so active now, but it is a bit of a passion. So then I spoke with Andrea and I was, well, if you need anything, and she was like, yeah, actually, I'm mounting an exhibition, you can help us. And then, like, slowly, like this, then I spoke with Nico, who's a teacher of sculpting, and I love him so much, and I was, if I can do anything for you, and he was like, yeah, actually, not for me. Like the next week, he came to me, yeah, Lola, I remember you said something, not for me, but I know this alumni from Minerva, Esther de Graaf. She's won the Young Groningen Talent, and she's getting an exhibition at the Groningen Museum, and she's looking for people to help her, so would you be up for it? So then I helped her for 3 months in her studio, and then 3 months in setting up the exhibition. And that was my first year. The friends of Esther were Lieselot van Dam, who was a previous director of VGDG and art space in Leeuwarden that I'm now working on with, or I met Arda van Technaligen, something like that. Her full name is in VGDG's website. She's an amazing fundraiser and curator and producer, and we all knew each other in 2015, and then I kept seeing them in openings and exhibitions. So this is something that slowly, maybe consciously but also a bit unconsciously, started building up, and now 5 years after, and half a year after I graduate, they offer me to become part of the curatorial and programming team of VGDG because they knew me 5 years already, and I've been active this year. So the question was, how did I get here?
And maybe also as a good introduction question, because we kind of assume what you do, because I mean, I also told you Jens a bit about it, but what do you do?
That's good.
I think it's good that we are on the very same page for that, so it's also informed.
Yeah, good, yeah. Okay, so maybe I do that and then I link it to your question.
Yes. Yeah.
So I started very classical art for me, like art was Renaissance and paintings. I love it very much, but then in 2013 I moved to England and I worked as an au pair for 2 years, and that's when I decided I wanted to study art in Europe. I'm from Argentina, and during those 2 years I would work 40 hours as a babysitter, and in the weekends I would go to London to spend the whole day and go to galleries. And of course, I first went to the National Gallery, I was in love, I wrote everything in my little book, the Dutch Renaissance, blah, 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 Golden Age. But then I went to the Tate Modern, and then I was confronted with the work of Joseph Beuys or Dan Flavin and modern conceptual art, and I was like, what is this? Contemporary art, what? Fuck, this guy said the people from the mountains rescued him, what? But I was very confronted, and then I started really like diving into it, and I was taking drawing lessons, painting lessons, very still traditional. Then I got accepted in Minerva, I came to Minerva. During the first year I did a lot again with photography. In England I also worked at the Henry Moore Foundation, he's a sculptor, British sculptor. So I then got very much interested in sculpting and making big things. So in my first year I was also making a lot of big sculptures. But on the other hand, I'm a very social person, I love people, so I think that is kind of part of my DNA. And by the end of my first year, we had this assignment by Sariana, who said, you have 6 weeks to develop a project you never could do before, or if you have it, and otherwise you come up with something new. And I remember having the realization of me coming from Argentina, where a place where you, when you greet with someone, you hug, you kiss, like there is this, even if you don't know them, even with a stranger, you would kiss them, you know? And I had this realization of, wow, in Europe there's so little contact. Like, so I started really thinking like, wow, I really miss this touch. So I developed this social, what I call social experiment, where I started asking people, okay, start touching your face and discover like how does it feel, are there places that it hurt or it's more rough. And I started doing it one by one, and then I started incorporating more people, and then this work developed into a group experience where like 20 people start touching themselves, but then at a certain moment I start interlacing them, and you are suddenly touching someone's hair or someone's scarf, and really, and this is an experiment and a research in human contact and how do we relate to each other. And then that was the first work where now looking back, it's like, okay, this is so important for me to work with people and to provide an experience and to create a space for reflection through art. And then in my second year, it was so totally suffering, so painful. What am I doing? Is this art? It can be called art. I'm working with people, but what do I show in my reviews? Because I didn't do. I have pictures of something. What is this? Well, and then Hein Coca-Cola, he suggested for me to read Artificial Health by Claire Bishops, and it's a book which introduces participatory and socially engaged practices. And when I read that book, I was like, wow, I'm not alone. People have been working with people and artists have been working with people and doing socially engaged projects for ages. So then I was like a bit more confident about it. And then I started developing a bit more, and then I started really like incorporating people and in my practice and being interested in providing experiences and spaces for reflection. And then I graduated with a work together with a colleague, so we graduated as a collective, which was called Art as a Tool. So we are both very interested in, okay, art as a tool for thinking, for living, for being part of a society. Yeah. Art as a tool for climate change or political action. So, and I think that's kind of like a thread of my interest and my practice. And with this, I think that along the years, because it is a social practice, I think there comes a lot of management. Like if I wanted to organize something, like a performance, I had to, before I studied art direction, so a focus in advertisement, so I knew that a few things of Photoshop and how to communicate, communication, marketing. So I knew that, for example, for this social experiment, that I once did it on a Thursday evening after the dinner, but I had to communicate it. So I knew I had to make a Facebook event. I made a poster, I made some flyers, I put it around Minerva, So for me that came really natural to to realize it, the production of it. And slowly, but more, it became part of my practice. So it also came that I'm organizing the number of events, and I'm very interested in rethinking the formats, and not organizing an exhibition, but how the exhibition looks, and how is the people experiencing the exhibition, and what is the relationship with the people with the works that are presented. Can the people meet the artists? So it's not only the audience as a passive member, but an audience as an active member that also takes things home, and the next week is that, oh, I saw that thing and I remember this question, which came first, art or the painting? There is food for thought. Well, I am also part of Home, which is a self-organized artist space that has studios for artists. So I was part of that, and now I'm part of the board. Things now are a bit stopped because of Corona. We cannot do a lot of workshops, but the idea is that the space also becomes a space for artists, but also for exchange of knowledge. And we had guest lectures to also learn from them and how to improve our practice. And I also am part of the curatorial and programming committee of the HDG art space in Leeuwarden. And my latest project was to organize masterclasses, also to promote and to work and to share knowledge and professional practice development. And I'm now also teacher of professional practices in Minerva. And what else?
Home screen, right?
Home screen. In the pandemic, I have a colleague, Brenda Cordova. She initiated this online exhibition space, and I was first. I mean, from the beginning, I was the person who was doing the artist talks with the artists at the end, like this dialogue, and then I became also part of the team. So dialogue is dialogue, reflection, and thinking about different and new ways are somehow always. I think I am interested on creating things that are open, that they are generous, that they are inclusive, that the threshold is very low, and because it's low, it doesn't mean that the level is low or the complexity is low, but the openness and the invitation for understanding and reaction, that's what is open for everyone. So I believe that art is not only for those who either can understand it or like it. I think art as a medium or as a tool is for everyone valuable to a certain extent. So I'm interested in that, and creating things that everyone to a certain extent can relate to and can easily come up with a reflection or a comment or that they can empathize with. And for example, you just call them performances. So that is the people, when I'm thinking about it, the people that come to these performances who are hosted an artist, what is called an artist bookshop, which is an antiquariat that focuses on art books. The public that comes is very specific. But the public that we did a residency in Kunsthaus, where we wanted to get, the idea was that we would get recipes of doing stampot, and then we would invite people to come and have stampot in the space. Then we worked with a completely different people, and we were based on the institution, but the institution was just a platform for us to realize our idea. And then when people came, you're having the dinner here, oh, so nice, I remember this, I want their pass, and they completely, so the idea of the institution, I also feel sometimes that, oh, you want to come to the performance evening, then that already sets up a threshold and a level of understanding that you have to be open, and you already have a lot of preconceptions. Oh, performance is at theater, it's going to be people naked, you have to pay entrance, like all of these things. But then I think I was now thinking also that is how you frame it and also how you contextualize it and how do you bring it about. Like, is it necessarily to call it art or not really? But the means, and that do you have a secret agenda on that? And then you're also going to be smart on how you position yourself and the work, and in order to get different people to not scare them.
Exactly. Okay.
That's a
very
beautiful
interesting.
question. Is it necessary to call it art?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, first, is it necessary for you and is it necessary for the world? I think there are two questions. And now you're in the academy, therefore it is important because you are studying art. So if you choose to even doubt about it, I think teachers in general will be like, what are you talking about? You're studying building of fine arts. What are you doing? But there is another ways of doing life and art. So there's no only one way. You can call whatever. I mean, I was also thinking before you came that, how am I going to introduce myself? I'm going to say I'm an artist. I'm not so sure. Like I'm still wondering. I also don't feel comfortable with the term curator. I feel more comfortable with the term organizer or facilitator. Like all of these terms have already so much baggage. And you say, oh, I'm a curator, oh, then you already think.
How do you feel about the future of organizing arts and maybe specifically within the environment of Groningen, Friesland and Drenthe?
Well, I am a very positive person, and since the beginning of the pandemic, I chose to have a positive and attitude towards this. Like, okay, at the beginning in March, I remember having this realization, like, well, everything turns online. Suddenly, everything was online. We went to Instagram. There were 1,000 live things going on. And then I thought, well, maybe it is not the best circumstances, but it's a good opportunity for us to really explore further the online realm. Because for now, how do we experience it online? We have social media, we have websites, we have Skype, but what else can we use and how? So then I still think that we can still further really very much explore and what the possibilities are. But what now I'm feeling a bit discouraged is that I struggle to see the end of the tunnel at this moment. Like, because during the first months until the summer, until after the summer, I never stopped working. I never worked as harder in my life. Like during the pandemic, I thought, okay, I have a lot of time, and I just invested in projects and developed new projects. And okay, we cannot have an exhibition in a space, but can we have it online, or can we have it? What are there still possibilities? Can we have it behind a shop that is closed, and then it's safe to visit it because you are outside? Or like, I'm very interested in, okay, what can we still do to not take it as a problem, but as a possibility? To really take the situation as a possibility and to explore the different possibilities that this has. But now I'm a bit, to be honest, a bit discouraged by, okay, like I thought it would be over and then we could keep going. Like I'm ready for saying, okay, let's leave it behind and let's keep planning. And but okay, this is a bit my feeling, but still, I think that, well, in the north, because there is less people, there are less spaces, there is a bigger sense of community, and I don't feel there is this competition which is in the Randstad. Therefore, during these hard moments of cutouts and crisis, financial crisis, artistic crisis, I feel there has been a lot of also support among institutions, and also maybe there has been, but also they are talking about how important is it. For example, for a space like Kunsthaus in Bezerswaag, which is part of the north kind of scene, they're such a small place that they have no structural funding, and if other cultural institutions that they are also part of the Northerners, So if other cultural institutions that are part of the Netherlands, for example, do not cooperate with Kunst Alciba at this moment that they're struggling so much, they might just disappear. So it's really this moment of, okay, how can we help like the other that is also contributing to the cultural. During the 4 years of Minerva, I had always a part-time job. I used to work 40 hours or so per week in my first year to pay all my bills. And on top of that, I was doing all the other projects. So how I see it is that I worked for free almost 4 years. I mean, every now and then I would get paid for a little job, 200 euros, or a little voluntary fee, 30 euros, 50 euros, but literally I mostly worked for free for 4 years. And when I graduated, in my last year, I started getting paid a bit more. Like, it's not that I wasn't getting paid, how to say, in general there is very little money for artists and for, you have maybe a chain of people that are working on, and if you're assisting, I see it more as an investment in my practice and that I got paid in terms of experience, practice, contacts, etc. But then things started also kind of flowing, and then I got an assignment for Nordson, and then I got paid, and then I started working with others, and then I started getting paid, so then I quit all my part-time jobs, and then I really thought like, okay, Lola, you fully live from your practice. And yeah, sometimes it's really hard. I also had moments where I was really freaking out, like I don't want to go back to the Horeca. I want to be able to, for people to appreciate my efforts and pay me. I don't need 2,000 euros, I need 700 euros.
Yeah,
and then,
You can combine that with it, you know?
Exactly. So slowly, I mean, I'm still like, I should do my finances. I don't know how I'm gonna live in December, for example. I think it's very project-based. Like, I work on this project, I still didn't get paid. I worked on this project for 6 months, 5 months. I know eventually I will get paid something. And then now I'm teaching Minerva and I get some money per month, so that's kind of I know that half of my costs are kind of covered with that, and then I need to get a parallel project that pays a bit, and then I kind of have my living situation covered. But it's not stable. They boil my stuff. And also by cleaning, I remember also cleaning one day, they were like, oh, actually, Lola, could you maybe clean the doors because they're so dirty? And I was like, I never cleaned the door, but sure. And I was cleaning these doors, and I was thinking like, man, this is so beautiful, and I love them so much, and I want to share my love to them through cleaning and through my appreciation and my taking the time to properly clean everything. And then I thought, I have a performance here. And then, so also, how can you also, in your work that is maybe non-artistic at all, how can this also spark? You're an artist, you have a website, you are famous, you sell your work. For some people that might not work. What is your practice? What is your audience? How do you want to even sell work? Like, this is not ABC, the root of success. So that's very important for me, I think. Like, not everything serves for everyone in their practice. So it's about how you want to be. What kind of artist, what kind of person do you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, lovely.
Beautiful.